What up, guys? This is Dr. Vic, and you're listening to an episode with me here on the Mindful Experiment. Excited to have you guys here. It's been, apologize if you've been a follower for some time or just starting to listen. Some of the sporadic posts that we've been doing hasn't been as consistent. July 6th, I had my firstborn. My daughter was born on July 6th, early in the morning. And what an experience has been. It's been life-changing as expected, but there's always those curveballs that come in with it. And if you think you kind of know where it's going to go and then, or how you're going to feel, and then it's like deeper and more profound and, values changing and a massive shift in my life. So it's been that, and just trying to adapt to the lifestyle, to having the baby be a part of our life, right? There's a lot of times when parents, the baby becomes their life. And there's a difference between becoming your life and having it be a part of your life. And so we're trying it out. It's been working so far, but it's one of those things that exciting journey and exciting. So I appreciate you guys. And this is why it's important to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't. It's a way to not miss an episode. We got some great interviews going to be coming back up, and I'm going to get more consistent up on here again. As most of the time I like to be here on Tuesdays. It's just going to vary with my schedule of being able to get them up there. So it might be Monday, it might be Tuesday, or it might be Wednesday. But I'll be sharing some sort of concept of some sort of ideology and so forth. And we're going to be going through the book too, Decoding the Matrix. We did the first chapter already. So you haven't seen that episode yet. It's called What is the Matrix? Check it out as I walk through my first chapter of my most recent book. And we'll be doing more of those. Can carry on next week on getting back on schedule with those. But this episode, I was on a podcast and I was being interviewed, and we were discussing many different topics. And the podcaster was asking me a question about, I mentioned something called effortless action and effortless success. And a lot of times people hear that term, they think it's something way out there, and it's not something that is, attuned to actually be a reality. And I really broke down a lot of this, and I talk a lot about this in my book, but it's the essence of the conditioning of the mind. Okay. Now I want you to understand how the mind works when it comes to some ideology that's different than what it is. And because of the conditioning of the matrix in society in general, and humanity, and your culture, and where you grew up, and your city that you grew up in, and all these other things, you're conditioned in a certain way. We're all conditioned. Nobody escapes that. Okay. We come in pure in this world, and we get tarnished by adults, in other words. So when you think about that for a second, there's a conditioning process that we have. And what happens to the mind, I share this in the book, Decoding the Matrix, is that when there is something that's outside our conditioning, an outlier to the main average, to what the matrix has been vibing at, in other words, the first thing we're going to do, especially if we don't understand it, is bash it, humiliate it, discredit it in any way, shape, or form. And it's something that we do time and time again. I've had business people tell me that what I share is too good to be true. And it's one of those principles like, hold on, let's have a conversation and you'll see the other side of the story. And I think that's very valuable and also a big issue in today's society, because we don't take on other people's point of views. We just rather be in echo rooms. And an echo room is just listening to people who agree to our shopping list. Now, I call it a shopping list. I've done podcasts on this, where there are a list of things that you like. And if someone has that list of things that you like that person. If the person has not that many things on that list, then you are most likely not going to like that person, right? This creates judgment. This creates divide. We put a label on them most of the time, and the label creates more of that divide. This is just the psychology of how our brains work and what we do. Now, taking that in perspective and understanding, if we looked at this from a different aspect and just acceptance of every individual, it can really transpire us to higher levels. And then it allows for us to have the door open to understand where they're coming from, right? And you don't have to agree. That's okay too. We're not designed to most of the time. I mean, you look at male and female relationships, the traditional relationships, and you look at that, and just from a neurological perspective, we should not get along at all. From a neurological perspective, we should not. We are so opposites, but yet it works. And some of them blossom like crazy. And some of them repel like crazy. It's the beauty of being human, right? So let's take a step back then. So bringing back to that point, effortless success, effortless action. This is what I do as a coach and help entrepreneurs really level up to understand the principles of this and how they can create this in their life. Okay. And you can do this. If you're not an entrepreneur, don't turn this off. You can do this in your life also. And the thing is, because these are basic principles that are universal. And so let's take a step in understanding what really is what we're told in the business world. What are we told in life? Hard work is success, right? You have to grind and hustle. Grind means you got to keep putting everything in, doing the thing every single day, never stopping, working long hours. I mean, some of the people I know who make millions a year, $1 million plus a year, and that's how much they make, will tell you, or at least they tell their group, is that in your first year or two of business, you're going to have to work at least a minimum of 60, 80 hours a week in order to get to a 7-figure business in 3 years. And I'm not saying that doesn't work. I'm not saying that is not true. You have to understand that where I'm coming from is a different perspective, and it doesn't mean that, and I want to be really clear with this, is that if someone tells you this is the way, run. It is a way. It's not the way. And there's multiple ways to that. And I learned this early on doing calculus work when I was in college, because I would get my answers wrong, and it used to aggravate me. But it wasn't that the answer was wrong. I had the answer right. It was the work I did to get there that wasn't the work the teacher wanted. And I used to get so frustrated about that. Because I'm getting the answer. I mean, isn't math designed to be multiple ways to the same answer? Like, there's many ways we can go around that using different formulas, different ways. And I could not figure out, I had to do all this extra work to learn how to do it the way he wanted it to, rather than how I was formulating the thoughts based on the theorems and other things I was using to get to those answers. But that taught me something in life, because I learned this through a religious perspective, where I was raised Roman, Italian, Catholic, and then I started to study Buddhism and Hinduism and Judaism and different other religions. Some of them I went more in depth than others. So like Judaism and like Islam, I didn't go too far in depth with it, but I just wanted to understand the basics of it. But understanding there's just different many ways to go. So the point I'm trying to bring here for you guys is that there is the action of force in doing work consistently, right? Putting mass effort in. I always say it's not about the results you get, it's about the effort you put in there, right? And so these efforts that you put into your life, you're just always putting 100%, 100%, 100%, 100%. When you come from this level of force, which is it's my effort that determines this, and as long as I'm putting the work in and I do this action, then I will get to this success, right? When you do that, you have to sacrifice something else. And this was one of the podcasters was asking me, he goes, why is it that we see in the entrepreneurial world so many people burned out? Why do we see them so much exhausted? Why do we see them so stressed? And that was the answer. The answer I told him was that when you look at our lives and what we're doing, we are from a force perspective. And when we're looking outside ourselves and thinking that it's all the doing that we do that's going to make us successful, why is it that every entrepreneur in the world is not successful? I know some entrepreneurs that are they work harder than me, but yet they still have a struggle. I mean, we all have struggles, we always have challenges, but they struggle. They're not at the level they want to be. And they just don't, they're like, hey, it's not my time yet. I'm going to keep grinding away until it happens. And I truly believe, and I went down this path. I went down it. I'm very passionate as a chiropractor. If you guys haven't known already, I love chiropractic. I'm a big component of chiropractic. It should be the number one healthcare choice everyone should be doing. And that's not because I'm a chiropractor. It's the understanding of what I know about chiropractic and what it does to the body, not only from a physical perspective, not from a health perspective, but even a metaphysical perspective. And when you look at it from that perspective, that aspect of things, it's really, I'm very passionate about it. But in the first 5 years of my career, I was getting burned out every 6 months. I was exhausted. I was fatigued. I was tired. There was points that I was like, man, I don't know if I want to continue doing this. And it wasn't that I wasn't passionate about what I do or love what I do, because I do. But it's a principle that I had to learn with myself first. And that was I kept using force to get to success. Now, I was making it happen, but there was a lot of sacrifice that was coming along with it. And what I had to learn is I had to turn that around and I had to start to tap into my power. This is when I started going back to my old principles of spiritual truths, universal laws, quantum physics, neuroscience, the laws of the body, nature, and universe. And I started looking at these things and starting to say, okay, there is this law called the law of least effort, which means what's the least amount of work to get the greatest gain? That's how nature lives by, universe lives by, so does your body. I said, we're always told to work smarter, not harder, but yet at the same token, the advice we get from leaders in business and self-help and so forth tell us the opposite. They tell us to work harder to make more. Work harder to become successful. Put in the sweat equity, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger, sleep less to be more successful. Other top motivational speakers would say, you have to outwork your competition in order to be successful. And they use all these rhythms, and they'll show you how many hours, if somebody works 40 hours versus 80 hours, and they look at it from a quantity perspective, which is really a force-based perspective. And you're going to have to sacrifice something for that. And that's why you get burnout, exhaustion, fatigue, and so forth, even if you still understand your why. But the other side of that is this effortless action, effortless success. Now, I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I've seen it from the force side, and I've been it from a being side. And I understand this effortless action. I understand this beautiful dance with the universe or God or Allah or whatever the label you want to put on there, that there's this co-creative process, right? And I started to understand that there maybe I'm doing things a little backwards, right? Because when I started to go into coaching and start helping coaching entrepreneurs, I saw the backward model that was being taught, and I felt like I needed to give an answer to that. And I wanted to just be a mindset perspective. I wanted to bring a whole picture. I wanted to bring everything to the total picture to it. Spirituality, quantum physics, neuroscience, helping balance, creating a holistic, WHOL, whole person, bringing them back to wholesome, right? Helping them create the life that they want on the terms that they choose to. And it was something that I had to do, which all of a sudden became effortless. And what I mean is there are certain things that I had to understand how the universe works again, going back to realizing that what you seek is seeking you. I had to realize the power of my mind and the power of perspective and the power of reframing my mindset. I had to understand what it meant to, when it comes to choosing, looking at my limiting beliefs and what holds me back, and then why they exist and where was I taught that? And then how can I turn that into an empowering belief? And I had to do a lot of this inner work, but once I did this work, then all of a sudden, effortless success started to happen. Effortless action, where I would just go ahead and do something and it would work. And it was amazing to see the process. Anytime my mind got in the way, ego comes in, right? The fear, the worry, thinking I have to control things and do this force. Then all of a sudden, I wouldn't get those results that I was expecting and it would interfere with it. But once I let go and just knew what I had to do every single day, it was a game changer. And what I've learned is the grind and hustle is really just the tone and the vibration of what you're trying to put yourself at every single day. Where's your focus at when it comes to that? Are you focusing on that every single day of a certain vibration or the frequency of the future self? What does that feel like? Right? And every time you're connecting to that, you're creating it to happen faster. You're giving it opportunity to level at that, right? And when you have vibrations is all about like versus like. So when you get at that vibration, it's impossible to not have that experience. This is effortless action and effortless success. You still have to do work though. Okay, I don't want to take away from that. The law of inspired action states that you have to have action in order to get things moving forward. The only difference between taking action all the time versus this type, it's laser focused, it's centered, you have clarity, you have a vision, you have a purpose, you see what that is. Okay? And with that clarity, when you take action, there's an energy difference to that. There's an intention behind it. It's not just a doingness like a robot just constantly doing work all day long. There's an intention behind it. And that vibration is going to set the difference. You're going to work less in the process. I did. I saw it in my own life and I help entrepreneurs do the same thing. And when you can do that and then choose to do it on the terms you want, because I love it where I work with clients and sometimes I'll tell them about this. Like, well, what about we make you work at this level? Or are you interested in working less? And they'd be like, yeah, maybe this much. And then when you look at it, it's like they're not really cutting it down to where it can be like, wow. And then I'll say, well, what about this possibility or this possibility? Then like, oh my goodness, I don't know. Is that even possible? And I'm like, I'm living proof of it. I've done it. I've taught others. You can do it too. But we have to do some work before, right? Do some work in the essence of inner work before we take the action steps to that. Because if we don't do the inner work, we can miss the whole entire boat and it could be a big flop. That's why mindset, where you vibe, is all important, because nothing happens to you, everything happens as you are. And that as you are portion is the vibrational frequency of where you are at in the moment. And that's why it's very critical. So when we're looking at our life to create effortless success or effortless action, okay? When you do all this properly right, you're in alignment. And when you're in alignment with the vision, your vibe, energy, intention, your future self, all that stuff, things work more at ease. It's the same principle when it comes to as a chiropractor, when you're more in alignment, the body works more at ease. It works less harder, or it works less. Everything flows better. It doesn't have to use up so much energy. And when it doesn't use up so much energy, it can take that energy to focus on healing and repairing more and helping the body adapt better and so much more. Same thing is for yourself. When you are working less, you have more time to focus on the things that you want to do to keep the needle moving forward, or what's important to you. This is why I teach a lot about sacrifice, and that you don't have to sacrifice in life to do what you want. If you want to have business success, you don't have to sacrifice family or your health or money. You don't have to do any of those things. It's been proven. Many people have talked about this, and it's stuff that I've done in my life. I used to sacrifice, and now I don't anymore. And it's really trying to create more of that work-life harmony, not balance, but harmony. And these are the key concepts, and you have control of all this. So when you're looking at your life, what I want you to do is take an inventory and just look at where you are. Are you feel like you're grinding and hustling? Do you feel tired and fatigued and burned out? Do you feel like you have that, you love what you do, but you just feel like you're struggling, and it's a struggle to get up every day because you feel like it's the same outcome no matter what, and you just feel like no matter what you do, you're hopeless and powerless? If you're in that state, this episode, I hope, helped you. I know it has. I know I was in those states before, many times. And it's one of those things where you do have the power. We just have to tweak things a little bit. Just got to look at it a little differently. And when we can do that, it's a big game changer. And so that's what my hope is for you in this episode, is to really help with that. And if you're somebody who's like, man, I love this message, you're an entrepreneur of some sort, and this message resonates with you, the levels of the struggle and the exhaustion and wanting to do things differently, that resonates with you, hit me up, hit me a DM. You got my email on the bottom, or even more importantly, let's hop on a free call. It's a value of $750. Hop on a call with me. Scroll all the way to the bottom of my page, or just go to www.callwithdrvic.com. Go there, you can set up an appointment, and we can have a conversation. And that way I can hear more about where you are, where your struggles are, what are the obstacles, what are the goals you want to get to, and then if I can help you, I'll give you a couple 1 or 2 steps of how to move towards that or redirect some things. And then I can also share, if I can help you, I'll share how I can do that and what I can do for you. So if you're interested, go down there and check that out. But yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in. And if this is your first time listening, thanks for stopping by. Please subscribe. It helps expand the podcast out and really get this message out there. And for all my followers, subscribers who've been following me for some time, let it be a day, a week, a month, a year, the whole entire existence of this podcast, I personally appreciate you and thank you, because it's because of you guys I'm inspired to continue to do these episodes and to continue to move forward with the podcast, because we are creeping close to 400 episodes. I'm so excited to get that launched out there. I'm going to definitely be doing some little something. I'm not going to share yet, but something will be coming. So stay tuned. But appreciate you guys as always. And until next time.